Hello everyone. So, it's October, and we all know what that means. The weather is getting colder, the nights are getting longer, and of course, Halloween is coming. And I want to talk about one thing that I think is associated with October and I think Halloween. Fear. Fear is a very interesting emotion. It's something that we don't really understand. This emotion can be weaponized against us. But most importantly, it's a natural reaction to things that we don't understand, we can't comprehend, and we try to find a logical solution, yet we can't, and that's what terrifies us because we can't understand why certain things happen the way they happen. And I think when we were younger, when we were impressionable young kids watching some cartoons on TV, there's always a moment when some episode or some dark moment just terrifies us because we don't understand. And I think even as we are older and in adult years, we still sometimes can't understand what's even happening. And I want to tell you, growing up in 2010s and watching so many cartoons and shows, there was so many times when I was actually scared of many things because I didn't understand them and they really kind of scarred me for life. So today, I want to talk about 6 things that really terrified me and scarred me as a kid. First disclaimer, this list will only contain cartoons though, sometimes I will mention some video games and some other materials, and it will only extend to official media, not creepypasta or some internet legends, stuff like that. I want to keep it official because, like I said, 6 things only. So, in no particular order, let's go through them. First up, I think we should start with the thing that actually started this channel, Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think one thing that we know that Sonic is not very scary. Like we can find many dark scenes or plot lines in Archie comics and IDW comics, but in actual video games, they're not actually a lot scary things. Sure, there are some exceptions, like Dark Gaia transformation at the end of Sonic Unleashed, Marina's betrayal in Sonic and the Black Knight, the ending of the entire world in Sonic 06, but never actually things that actually can scar you for life. Well, except one thing. King Boom Boo. This character appears suddenly, really suddenly, in Sonic Adventure 2 when Knuckles is collecting keys in Dr. Eggman's pyramid base. And then this thing just appears out of nowhere. And at first he looks kinda goofy and he doesn't seem scary, but then he starts chasing you and making very weird sounds. And when you run far away, then he springs from the front while cackling and laughing maniacally. And of course, the only thing that it can hurt him, it's sunlight, and then Knuckles can attack him actually, but the sudden appearance of this actually very scared me, and creepy sounds. And what this character even is, because we never get an explanation why this ghost is even here and who even he is. However, he only appears like once in Sonic Adventure 2 and then he's gone. However, there is one more appearance that actually is even scarier with this character. Sonic X Episode 19, Sonic Scream Test. Yeah, I think if you watch Diamond Bolt, you are familiar with this episode. And yeah, this episode is really screwed up. Well, basically, Sonic and the gang and Chris visit the old castle where Chris's mother is filming, and suddenly some people are going missing, and then Amy and Chris discover that this castle is haunted by aforementioned King Boom Boo and his ghosts, and basically they kidnapped Sonic's friends and Sonic himself. They want to eat them, and they possess Amy, and this fucking thing happens.
Open your eyes for me.
Stop interfering with my plans or you'll never leave this castle!
Amy, please don't do it!
Yeah, how anyone was okay with this, I don't know. But of course, Chris managed to save everyone, but then his ghost is sealed, and its implications that he's still in there. He's still haunting this castle.
Did I put the right side up?
It's the moon side.
So I messed up.
Yeah, big time.
Nobody ever got away from the ghosts down there before.
Who are they? Where did they all come from?
Well, some folks say this place sits on an ancient burial ground. When the man who built the castle heard legends about ghosts, he laughed and said they were nonsense. Then the man disappeared the first night he stayed here, and nobody ever saw him again.
This episode was so creepy because this laughing and this concept of these ghosts were so terrifying and so weird, at least for my young age. Now, they're not actually that scary, but they're still unnerving, to be honest. And given that King Boom Boom never appeared again, aside from Archie Comics, and a little bit more recently, like in Team Sonic Racing, but then his ability was very toned down, so makes you wonder if Sega realized that these ghosts were actually so scary that they had to actually tone it down. Whatever it was that decided to do it, I don't think I want to find out. Okay, next thing that I think is scarred me for life was from Batman. Yeah, surprisingly that I'm a really big fan of Batman, yet I'm never really actually talking about Batman on my channel. I want to change that in the future, but now let me give you this. Let me give opportunity this because Batman. Since I was obsessed with Batman, secondly because first hero I was obsessed with was Spider-Man, and second one was Batman. And since I was obsessed with Batman at a very young age, then you can imagine how many things in Batman's mythos kinda terrified me. But to narrow things down, let's look at examples in a very important and iconic Batman the Animated Series from 1992. So I think you are aware there are a lot of things that actually they are very very creepy and disturbing in that series, like Man-Bat's transformation, Bane almost overdosing on Venom, Joker gas victims. But these things actually were kind of unnerving and a little bit unsettling, but they never actually scared me, to be honest. However, there were two things, one episode and one thing that is related to Batman Animated Series that actually very scared me back then. First, there is episode of the new Batman Adventures, Over the Edge. Yeah, in this episode, basically we got the scenario that Batgirl is killed by the Scarecrow because he made her fall on the roof. She smashes down on her father's, Commissioner Gordon's, car, and he sees that his own daughter is Batgirl and she dies in his arms. And Gordon, consumed with anger and grief, he launches entire SWAT team on Batman, Robin, and Nightwing. And we can see entire episode that basically reputation of Batman and his Bat family just went down the drain. Nightwing is arrested, Robin is forced to leave Batman, and Batman is watching Barbara's funeral alone. And to make matters worse, Gordon recruits Bane in order to help him bring Batman in. However, of course, Bane is the double-crossed Gordon and he wants to kill Batman rather than arrest him. Batman, despite all what Jim has done, he still defeats Bane and wants to help him. However, just as they were about to reconcile, Bane, with his last strength, he tosses the bat signal over Batman and Jim, and they both fall from the rooftop to their demise. Then Barbara wakes up and it turns out that it was all hallucination caused by Scarecrow's fear gas. And yeah, this is basically, it was all a dream situation, but yeah, it was still pretty scary seeing that Batman and Gordon now are enemies. That reputation of Bat family was just down the drain, and the police they just went for Batman basically for things that you didn't know. And even Batman says
It makes no difference now.
which makes this episode is really nihilistic in many places. However, there's a really touching scene at the end where Barbara wants to confess to her father that she's bad girl, but Jim reassures her that no matter what she's doing, he will always support her. That's really nice. But still, the rest of the episode is really interesting motif scenario and very dark. Especially that we see Barbara Gordon die on the screen, which was honestly, given the censorship in that time, was very impressive. However, like I said, they're over the edge. Was the what if scenario. The next thing? No, it isn't. I mean, it is canon. It is what happened. I mean, let's go to sequel series to Batman and Animated Series Batman Beyond. More specifically, amazing movie Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, and there we see flashback that showcases the events that happened before Batman Beyond era, where basically Tim Drake's Robin is kidnapped by Harley Quinn and the Joker, and then tortured and brainwashed to be the Joker Jr., and Batman and Batgirl find him and it's too late, and then basically Joker orders Tim to kill Batman, but Tim in his last effort of trying to get out Joker's control, he shoots Joker instead, and he has complete mental breakdown, and Barbara hugs him and tries to reassure him that he's okay. I mean, if you're a Batman fan, you already know this. I don't have to recap it all over again. Just let you know that when I saw this, it really horrified me and really felt sad. I mean, mostly I felt very sad rather than horrifying. But it was still odd to see Tim Drake, from the new Batman Adventures, this optimistic, jokey young kid reduced to be image of the Joker, and that was honestly very sad and disturbing. But yeah, when I saw this, it really scared me, terrifying that Tim Drake was reduced to Joker Jr. and it canon. It isn't what if scenario. It actually in canon, and it is what leads to Batman Beyond, and that's honestly very scary. And next one, we don't stop with Batman, but instead we're going to another incarnation of the Dark Knight that I think it's really underrated. I'm talking about the Batman 2004 show, and honestly, I really want to talk about this show one day because this show is really underrated. And yeah, Batman the Animated Series is a masterpiece, but the Batman 2004 is what introduced me to Batman, and this is one of my favorite interpretations of the Dark Knight. I can't choose between Batman the Animated Series or the Batman 2004, but the Batman 2004 has a very unique art style, character design, storylines, and I love so many episodes, interpretations. I remember those nights when I sit on some shitty website and watch the season 3 and 4 and 5, because these seasons are the best, though 1 and 2 are also great. Despite being not that mature, I mean, there is still mature, but not as mature as Batman. There are still so many scary and messed up shit in there, such as Clayface transformation for the first time, the joining invasion at the end of season 4, the zombie apocalypse episode, and the dark future shown in flashbacks and artifacts where old Dark Knight Returns style Batman fights power up Mr. Freeze and he only beats him by chance but still not defeat him. All those things were really disturbing, scary for me, and maybe I feel at the end of this episode very unsettling, but I think that was the point. However, none of these episodes from this series that feel me uneasy or scared, there are none compared to Second. This episode is honestly very disturbing and very scared me when I first saw this. In this episode, which takes place almost at the New Year's Eve, Batman, Robin and Batgirl fight a new villain or new guy who steals some chemicals, and this guy is named Francis Gray, and it's revealed that this guy was just an ordinary man working at the clock repairing business. He had a wife and child, but they were very poor and there were many deaths, and he just wanted to help his family. When he was about to leave the job for the day, he saw a golden watch in the glass display, so he decided to steal it. And then from the simple theft of this very expensive watch, it spiraled down in a domino effect to car crash and explosion. And for that, he was charged for 15 or 18 years. For example, for a long time in prison for basically just stealing a watch. But the rest was just an accident. He didn't actually want to do this car crash. So he was separated for a long time from his family. And since he know how to repair clocks, prison guards gave him so many clocks to repair, and eventually he was surrounded by them. And then he basically kind of had a mental breakdown with realizing that time is running out, and they basically steal his time with family because for something he didn't fully do. And then he discovers that he can rewind time backwards, and it's simple. Like for the first time, it's like 1 second, then it's 2, then it's 3, and then he can jump back. He can rewind back 10 minutes, and he's the only one who remembers that the rewind occurs, while the others just doesn't remember that. And you can imagine that with that powers, Batman can't defeat him, because even if Batman beats him, because let's be honest, Francis Gray is not a martial artist like Batman, he still can rewind as much as he wants until he knows the full pattern how Batman fights, and then he can just dodges all of it, beats him, and beats Batman and his allies, and run away. And that's basically what happened. The entire episode is basically Batman and Robin and Batgirl trying to stop him, but to no avail, because he can just rewind time and do it all over again until everything acts according to plan. And what is his plan, I might ask? He's building a chemical bomb that basically is gonna detonate in Times Square, where it's gonna be midnight and New Year's Eve, and kill everyone in that event. So basically, yeah, it's already very dark, and he's doing that because he wants to get revenge for the time he got stolen from him for things that he didn't do. And predictably, at the final confrontation at the New Year's Eve event in Gotham Times Square, Batman can't defeat him, but he can hold his ground thanks to deja vu, and he can remember some things and changes his story. However, it's no point, because bomb is still gonna go off. However, just the moment as bomb is gonna go off, Gray's son comes here, but unfortunately it's too late, and gas bomb is going off, causing the toxic green gas, which honestly kind of looks like Joker gas, but no, it's not a Joker gas. It's just a very toxic poison gas that kills everyone that breathes. And so basically everyone in Times Square is consumed by that green smoke, and everyone is killed, including Robin, Batgirl, and even Batman, because he can't put on a gas mask in time. And unfortunately, despite Gray trying to save his son with putting his gas mask over him, it does nothing, and Gray's son passes away. It only now, in grief, Francis Gray, he does the one thing he wanted to do. He goes back in time 18 or 15 years, and remembering the Batman's words, stops himself from stealing the watch. And then we cut to present day, like at the beginning of the episode, although like at the beginning of the episode, Alfred couldn't fix the old grandfather's clock, where now Francis Gray is working with his son, and they're fixing his clock, and basically it's a nice, happy ending, though it still doesn't erase that basically the Batman, Batgirl, Robin, and every people, like 10,000 people in Gotham Square died because of that attack from Francis Gray. And wow, that episode, I remember that episode really scared me, because like I said, we saw the reality that Batman died, everyone died. Batman failed to stop this guy, that just a simple guy who has time travel powers, to stop him for killing these people, and only by chance Francis Gray turned back time and he corrected his ways in that moment in time. And honestly, Francis Gray character is honestly one of the best original characters in the show. Sure, I think it's a spin on a Clock King, because honestly, Clock King is always very, very campy character, like, I'm gonna steal clocks. Well, yeah, in Batman Animated Series, and especially in here, they're making Clock King very sympathetic and very menacing character. But here, honestly, despite he doesn't have like a campy suit or doesn't call himself Clock, it doesn't really explain how he got these powers, though. Giving this is a DC universe, his obsession with losing time and his kind of mental breakdown in the cell. I think this activated his meta gene or something like that. I watch a lot of Young Justice, so maybe that's what I think about. I don't know, but still, despite of that, that just simple guy just achieved that all of these God of Us want to do: kill civilians and defeat Batman. Honestly, that was really scary. But also, you can relate to Francis Gray because, like I said, he's still a watch. They should have given him like 3 years, not 18 years, because of the accident domino effect that he wasn't planning to do. And it's very similar to the Joker's origin shown in Killing Joke. But while there, it's not clear to tell if it's real or not. And Joker still is an unredeemable psychopath that kills 100 people by one day. Francis Gray is a very sympathetic character, and it's very sad that he turned out that way. Still, it doesn't excuse the fact that despite happy ending, this episode was still very disturbing, and cold, snowy atmosphere very added to this feeling of that the Bat family cannot win in this fight, and they actually ultimately fail at the end and die. And that episode honestly stuck with me for a long time. And I wasn't very scared, though I felt scared watching all of this play out, but I really felt unnerved after watching the episodes, and I think that was kind of the point. Okay, and since we talked about Sonic and Batman, now let's talk about some other things, because when I was in primary school, I watched a lot of Cartoon Network and many of these channels that hold the cartoons. Now everything's migrated to streaming services, but back then I watched a lot of things on Cartoon Network mostly, and one show that I really watched at least at the beginning was Adventure Time. So I think you all know Adventure Time. I don't have to explain what this show is, and we all know that there's a lot of disturbing things in there and scary. However, I think the show was interesting at the beginning, then it just dissolved into boring melodrama, so I stopped watching it. However, there was one character that basically terrified everyone: the Lich.
You are alone, child. There is only darkness for you, and only death for your people. These ancients are just the beginning. I will command a great and terrible army. We will sail to 1 billion worlds. We will sail until every light has been extinguished. You are strong, child, but I am beyond strength. I am the end.
This being, because this isn't a person, this being is embodiment of darkness, evil, and you can see that you can't reason with him, you can't convince him. He doesn't have a motive, he doesn't have a defined origin. He's like an embodiment of everything wrong with humanity, everything wrong with nature as a whole. He represents evil, destruction, and he's hell-bent on destroying happiness, life, everything. I mean, his breath kills everything that it touches. His voice is terrifying thanks to Ron Perlman's brilliant performance. But I mean, this character is just giving. It doesn't have a clear origin, but I think it's origin from that nuclear bomb that destroyed this world. But yeah, it's not clear how the Lich came to be, or from what I've seen, but it doesn't matter. He's terrifying, and he is the embodiment of evil. However, the Lich was not the only dark monster that terrified me from Cartoon Network. There was this mini-series called Over the Garden Wall, which was basically a spin on Alice in Wonderland. Two boys lost in magical land and they're searching a way home. However, what made the Over the Garden Wall so special was art style, music, very cold atmosphere, and some dark undertones in many episodes of this mini-series. Main antagonist didn't even show up that much in this series. Was almost the same, terrifying as the previous character, the Lich, the Beast. The Beast is the character that chases the boys throughout the show, and he has to deal with the woodsman.
It seems you're running out of oil, woodsman. Why not let me take the lantern for a while? No need for violence, woodsman, but be sure to keep it lit, or your daughter's flame will go out forever. Now, what direction did those children go?
However, at the end it's revealed that in the lab it's actually like a soul or the main power of the beast, and if that's gone out, the beast is gone. And at the end, and it also is revealed that this special wood is made from missing kids, which means that Zack and Gray, the main characters, are not the first the kids that are lost here, but every single kids before were transformed by the beast into these trees, and that's from this special wood comes from. And when Woodsman sees this, and Zack figures out that this lamp only doesn't have Woodsman's daughter's soul, it has the beast's soul, and when it goes out, the beast is gonna die. And Woodsman does the good thing and blow out the flame, and the beast is finally killed.
Woodsman, listen to me. You see, Woodsman, all who perish here will become trees for the lantern. Cut them down with your axe. Go, now! Stop! You'll never see your daughter again, Woodsman. Are you really ready to go back to that empty house? No, Woodsman!
And the beast is honestly very terrifying, because we see him this dark silhouette, or we don't even see how he looks like fully in the light. And Samuel Remy voice very well for this character. It's not as dark and disturbing as Ron Perlman's The Lich, but it's still very scary. And his singing voice, that he sings about submission, about defeat. Yeah, basically he revels in exploiting people's situation in dire times. You know, the people when they are in desperate need of help, he exploits them. He plays out their fears, their anger, their anxiety in order to manipulate them into the way that he wants them to proceed. And that's honestly very terrifying. Sure, I think the Lich is even scary. It's scary because with the beast, at least we can see some humanity, a little bit humanity, the person that wants to manipulate everyone for his own game. But still, it's still monster. But the Lich, in comparison, it's not even a person. The Lich is a monster and the embodiment of everything wrong in the world. However, the beast was still very scary, and especially that he hasn't showed up very much in this mini-series. He was mostly in the background, watching the events played out, how Zack and Gray were slowly losing faith, and when their faith hit all-time low, he knew when to strike and how to exploit their wants and desire to get home. These two dark characters were burned in my head forever, and I think they will be remembered as one of the darkest villains in animation history. Okay, let's go to another example of animated shows that I watched a lot of growing up. I think everyone knows Scooby-Doo, and I was one of those kids that grew up with many shows, and especially with the first show, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, from 60s. And honestly, as we all know, Scooby-Doo mostly is not scary, because every time when there is a monster or a ghost, there is always revealed that it's just some dude playing dress up and wants to steal something or something like that. That's not always the case. For example, Mystery Incorporated had paranormal activities in there. However, there are mostly in many Scooby-Doo interpretations there are people dressed in costumes, so it's not scary. However, in original Scooby-Doo Where Are You series, there was one episode that really scared me as a kid. That episode was episode 8, Foul Play in Funland. In this episode, Scooby and the gang find themselves in some fairground on a pier, and basically this theme park is closed now. However, it suddenly starts to operate. Carousels, roller coasters, and lights and music starts to play, and it be operational without nobody in there, like it's some kind of possessed, and some really weird person is running very fast in this park. So of course they investigate, and it turns out that this person is a robot named Charlie, and it was made by Dr. Jenkins, and basically he created it to run everything in this park. However, he got out of control, so this is why the theme park is acting up very strangely. And of course, at the end, they catch him and assign this reprograms the robot to be good again. And episode ends very, very, very nice. However, this episode terrified me for 2 reasons. One, because I'm kind of terrified of the fairgrounds when they're not operational, at night. At the theme parks in the day are full of people. You can see that the park lives. Park is alive. There's everything is controlled by people and stuff like that. However, when night falls and nobody is there, you can think, what's happening in there when no one is looking, and what's happening in there where no one is around, no one is there to operate anything. It's something in there. And this episode basically showed me that I'm terrified of theme parks at night, that no one is there, because that things can happen. But also the robot itself, Charlie, terrified me because he was just running faster than any of the characters, and he was making these weird robotic sounds.
He wins! Let's go, man!
Especially from 96, they're actually kind of terrifying. Well, yeah, maybe it's not the most scariest design of the robot I could find, and yeah, but for me, the younger me, it really was scary, and really was terrifying and unsettling. And thankfully, when I was watching Scooby-Doo Where Are You on TV in reruns, I never encountered this episode again, aside from this one time, this first time I saw it, and it was good enough for me. But yeah, I think there was some good entity hovering above me and helping me from not seeing this episode until I was older. So I'm glad that I haven't encountered this episode again in that age, and now I wanna with more adult mind. It's not as terrifying, but it's still kind of unsettling, and these memories made it even more unsettling. And the final thing that terrified me, I think this is the biggest thing that actually terrified me as a kid. This was a really scary episode. I have no idea who decided this, that is gonna be broadcasted for kids everywhere. And this thing, or like this episode, because it was another episode of the cartoon, this episode comes from Tom and Jerry Tales. Yeah, I was one of those kids who watched a lot of Hanna-Barbera cartoons because there were so many reruns on TV of them. So actually, I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo, and of course, Tom and Jerry, the iconic duo of cat and mouse, which I think they are nuts. I think you think when I say the one thing from Tom and Jerry terrifying me, you think that I'm crazy. And yeah, I agree, because Tom and Jerry, like Scooby-Doo, are not scary because they're slapstick comedy that basically cat and mouse smashing in trying to kill each other, and that's honestly very comedic, funny, and stuff like that. And I know there are some episodes that are very dark and very sad, such as this one episode where Tom actually died and went to heaven, and then he failed to get basically a paragraph that verified that Jerry's forgave him, and then Tom is thrown to hell. But of course, it was all a dream. Next one, for example, I think that everyone knows that episode where Tom and Jerry basically got their hearts broken by some girls, and basically they sit on the train tracks and they're waited devastated for a train to run them over. And honestly, that episode was kinda sad, but honestly, I didn't find it scary, mostly because I knew this was just kinda comedy gag or stuff like that. But yeah, it was still anticlimactic for me that it ends right there, with implication that basically waited for the train to run them over from depression. However, none of this compare to this fucking episode from the show from 2006, which was like another interpretation of Tom and Jerry called Tom and Jerry Tales. and it was episode 13B, Spook House Mouse. Jesus Christ, who decided this episode to even exist? This episode is so horrifying, I think, because I remember that episode was so horrifying that I couldn't imagine who decided that this episode should be broadcasted for the kids who watch this. But anyway, like I said, this is episode 13B because in this series, Tom and Jerry encounter so many weird things, like, I don't know, being hypnotized by some volcano goddess or getting sucked into the Matrix. Some really pretty weird shit in this Tom and Jerry tales. I don't remember if it was good or not. However, in this episode were structured in 3 parts. Like it was episode 13, like I said, it was A, B, C, and middle part of 13 episodes, Spook House Mouse. It was so terrifying for me. I mean, this episode starts harmless enough. Tom and Jerry are in some fell ground on the pier, and they're just chasing each other. However, then Jerry and Tom run into this closed down fun house or haunted house. It's fun house actually, but in this fun house is closed down for whatever reason. And first it starts going, with some fake ghosts character. However, then things get darker and scarier when they're entering a room where big hands trying to cut their way of escape. Then one of their hands just pushes them into the dark room. Then they fall into a trapdoor, into the roller coaster cart with a very scary clown face, and then shit begins with their riding on the insane roller coaster with cartoony eyes looking from the walls and following them, and then they see some kind of weird ghost from the terrifying visions of dog ghosts for Tom, mouse, cat ghosts for Jerry, and even some demonic shit. And then they arrive into the mirror room. Basically, there are just mirrors like in those fun houses, and they see very disturbing reflections, and they're moving to those ghosts, monsters, stuff like that. And then they're terrified that much that their fur turn white. And that basically self-finds that this thing terrifies even them in their own cartoon slapsticky world. So they run away as fast as possible, and they burst out of the fun house terrified, and they're finally safe. But what the fuck was that? Like, what even is this fun house? Why there are ghosts here? Why there are so many disturbing things in this fun house? Why there are cartoony eyes, really scary by the way, looking from the walls and following them? What is it? Is this fun house haunted? Is this like scarecrow thing where he pumps them with fear gas and shows them their worst fears? It's not explained what this fun house is, why this fun house is on this pier, and why it's closed. It's sure music is not very terrifying, but the content on this episode is so terrifying that actually scarred me for life, and I was very scared after this episode. And even after that, I wasn't even though I had luck with Scooby-Doo episode I mentioned earlier that scared me. With this one, no, I encountered this episode like 2 times after, and each time when it got to this segment, I switched to other channels, and I've waited until segment 13B ended, because 13C was actually very fun. But yeah, that episode is honestly one of the scariest things I've ever witnessed in my history watching shows, especially as a kid. And yeah, that's honestly, even I'm watching as an adult, I still feel uneasy watching this episode. It's that scary. It makes you wonder what writers even had in mind writing this episode. And like with the first example, I don't want to know. And those were the things that very scared me when I was very young. Sure, there's so many other things, like that one episode of Young Justice where this invasion happened and everyone basically died. Or internet creepypastas, for example, Sonic.exe. I know it's it's pretty embarrassing to admit, but yeah, I was scared of that. But also Slenderman, I was scared of that. I could talk about Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Courage the Cowardly Dog, some episodes of Flapjack, or that terrifying drowning theme from Sonic, and that terrifying boss theme from Sonic CD that I use in a special Halloween opening of this video. There's so many things from animated shows and from internet things and even comics that scared me a lot as a kid. But like I said at the beginning, it's fear. Fear is very, it's a natural reaction to things we don't understand. And as we are younger and we're seeing some scary things, that's how we react. We run away. We're scared. We're telling our parents that we are scared of this thing. But as we grow older, some fears go away, some fears don't. Some things we still don't understand, and sometimes we just still remember the fears that this scene gave us. And no matter how we can understand that it's fiction and it's just exaggerated reality, we still feel a little bit uneasy. Well, I think that's it. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a happy Halloween. And remember, there's nothing to be scared of, I think.